Welcome to this edition of Transformation Thursday. As always, we're so grateful and thankful that you have thought it good to join us for this discussion on today. Uh, Christopher, I want to first of all welcome you as always, and I want to start with this personal story. Uh, Years ago, when I was in high school, I remember we were having a basketball game, and I remember on this particular night, I was having probably one of the worst games that I'd ever had before. I was literally awful. I was turning the ball over, missing layups, and uh, it was just an awful performance. And I can remember at halftime, my coach coming to me and he said, "Get your head in the game. Get your head in the game." And my mind was off. And that particular time, in high school, I was uh, dating this young lady. We had broken up a couple weeks before, and I saw her with one of my teammates, and it just took me off my game. Took me off my game. And again, as I stated, I played awful. It's one of those where it just was an awful showing. All because my head was not in the game. As I thought about that and was thinking about a particular scripture, and this is, I often go back to the scripture where Jesus is in Gethsemane. And Jesus, as he's preparing to go to the cross, this is perhaps his toughest moment. That moment that would define his movement towards destiny. If you can recall, in that particular text, Jesus is praying and he's asking God to, if there's any way possible to go another route to meet destiny, can we do that? And he's praying over and over, but he has brought three of his closest friends with him. And he asks those friends, he says, I need you to, in essence, he says, I need you to have your head in the game. He tells them, I just need you, I need your head in the game. Not just for me, but for you. He says, I need your head in the game. And too often, because of the circumstances of life, our head is not in the game. The disciples, they wanted to be in it. They wanted to be present. They wanted their heads to be in the game, but because Jesus had just expressed to them a little earlier that he was leaving, he had just expressed to them that he had to go to the cross, and what they had depended on for so long, for 3 years, was now getting ready to be taken away from them. So they're grieving and they're hurting and they just can't keep their eyes open because of the pressures of life. And sometimes because of the pressures of life, we just can't keep our head in the game. And so for us on today, the question becomes, how do you keep your head in the game when you're pressed, when there's pressure, when there's responsibilities, when there's hurt, when there's pain, when there's lack, in the midst of that, how do you still keep your head in the game and keep moving towards your destiny? How do you keep your head in the game?
You know, it depends on the type of difficult that you are facing, I believe, because I don't think every distraction from moving forward is the same. So if it's something that's physical, then I know SEALs have a way of localizing pain to distract it from the pain point that they're experiencing, so that it recalibrates their focus, right? If it's just wandering thoughts and things that would distract you, that there's different techniques to help you to lock in for the moment. It's just by simply doing a pattern that's repetitive, that you only focus on that one thing in that moment. But the worst kind of distraction is emotional. When you are emotionally charged because of the situation, whether there's a enemy or whether there's a pressing threat in terms of your financial situation, if there's a difficulty in terms of loved one's health or something like that. Now that's hard to have an emotional discharge from. But the one thing that I would say that we can always do is just focus on the next step. There's a book that we often refer to sometimes, the Red Sea Rules. And one of the rules in that book would say, when you're at your end and you don't know what to do, just take the next logical step. And if we can just focus on what we can do, if we focus on the next thing that's available, the next choice, the next decision, then that brings us a bit closer. And it also helps to keep the charge going. Because if you just bog down and you make no decision at all, and you stay stuck in the same position, then you'll continue to experience the same emotion. You'll continue to have that same miserable experience. But forward is the best motion. Research even shows that when people are trying to move closer to the expected end, the destiny, whatever you want to call it, it's not always the fulfillment of that particular arrival, whether it's the end goal, whatever, but just knowing that you're moving forward. Research shows that people are just as elated and energized because there's motion. So we have to make sure that we guard our minds and stay in motion towards the thing that we want most, instead of focusing on the things that potentially may be going on, but also that we desire less.
Yeah. I like that. That recently, I was in my office and me and my admin, we were talking, and one of my colleagues, we're all sitting there talking, and my admin, she came in and she said, we started talking about some projects that we were trying to move through, and we also started talking about not the projects, but also the fact that we always keep getting these little things that just keep popping up, an HR issue here, or someone who's upset here, or stakeholders that we were working with that might have done something here. And these things just keep popping up. And my admin, she said, Dean, we got to stay locked in. Stay locked in. And we laughed about this, and she said, you got to prove it. You got to lean grunt with it and stay locked in. Meaning that you got to keep your mind on that thing that you're trying to do. Yes, you will have stuff that comes up. Those things will always come. They're designed to come. They're supposed to come. I was thinking the other day about this, looking at if you ever grab your phone and it's interesting because if you grab your phone and sometimes you pick it up and it'll tell you you have 30 minutes to work because it has followed your patterns. AI follows your patterns. It knows that at this time of day you go to work and it takes this time based upon what the traffic look like. So it follows your patterns. And the enemy likewise follows your patterns. He knows what you like. He knows what triggers you, what pulls you away, what causes you to get off your game. He knows it. Mm-hmm. And he throws it up. And so in the midst of that, you just simply got to stay locked in to what the task is at hand. So even though those things may come, even though trials may come and stuff may pop up, and you got to stay locked in. And that's why Jesus said, I need you to not only pray, but I need you to watch. What he was trying to tell them is that I need you to be locked in. I need you to be locked in to what, where we're trying to go. Locked into your destiny, locked into your expected end. Stay locked in.
You know, that's all about being in the moment. Mm. Too many times we're thinking about the future, the past, or some other thing. And it removes us from the moment, whether that's about daydreaming, whether that's about something that's on the horizon, whether that's by something that somebody said that didn't feel good, that was disturbing or whatever it may be. But when you're trying to accomplish something big, or I would even say something small, but you're just trying to accomplish something, being present is powerful.
Yeah.
I always tell my students to be here now. Because if you're here and you're present, then there's possibility. Mm-hmm. But if you are removed, then you miss it. And sometimes we miss it because it's easy to be removed. But sometimes it takes a little bit more energy, a little bit more effort to be present. It's almost like, even when we think about task switching, professionals say that it takes 25 minutes to get back on time, on task, and talking about being fully engaged with a thing that you're doing. Now, that 1 minute of distraction costs you much more. Right? It costs you in terms of your productivity. It costs you in terms of your expended energy. It just costs too much. It's always easier to stay in the moment, to stay locked in, to do the deep work, because when the deep work happens, things start to unlock, and then you find yourself going from, how can I get in this moment, to I don't want to leave this moment.
Right.
And that's the power there.
I love that. That's good. That's good. You know, there's nothing else I can add to that. Stay in the moment. Stay locked in. There's so much power in it. So much power in it. And so for our listening audience, on this Transformation Thursday, just sit down with us. A lot is taking place. The election has taken place. But you still need to stay locked in. And so you need to affirm, let us affirm that I will stay locked in. I will stay in the moment. See you next week on Transformation Thursday.